Hey guys, welcome back to Adventures of Me, and whoa, the focus is weird. But today we're going to be talking about God of War on the PlayStation 4. This is kind of the reboot of the franchise where they took Kratos and they sent him on an adventure into a new mythology, moving from the Greek pantheon to the Norse mythology, and really offering up something where you had a different approach to the gameplay. The previous God of War games, I guess, were like linear levels, really. I've played through the ones on the PSP, and I think I mentioned that when I spoke about this previously in a video when I was talking about the collection, my collection and that. But God of War has been a game where you've got this, you've got a linear story, and this kind of blended that with a little bit of an open world aspect for an RPG style adventure. And I think the combat was great. It was quite frustrating at times with some of the abilities and how it worked, and just like general mechanics with locking on to enemies and attacking them. But overall, like, it did have a strong basis to the way that the game played, and I think that it was quite enjoyable in that aspect. I did find there were some parts that were a little bit repetitive, where you just seem to always come across like the same type of enemy. But it was a great story. I really enjoyed the father-son quest that you go on. You know, you're trying to spread your mother's ashes at the top of the tallest mountain. Simple. But of course, when you've got a war, everything kind of just seems to go wrong, I guess. And you have a lot of issues that you have to face along the way. I love the bosses. I love the voice acting in it. I think just hearing Kratos, and even though it became a little bit of a meme, just the boy thing that he does, instead of calling his son by his name. It was definitely interesting, and I think it did lead to just a very compelling character where you're just drawn into him. He's like, he just can't acknowledge his son, but like his voice is just so enchanting at the same time. I want to just see what he has to say, but he doesn't want to speak. So that was also interesting. I loved just the little bits and pieces. Like, I loved when you're on the boat and it's like Atreus wants to hear a story, and you know, Kratos, or there's a boulder that you walked around with, his head had a story to tell. They'd be telling it, and then you'd dock the boat up on the side of the land, and they'd just be like, that's enough for the story time for now. Or you'd be here sitting there and you'd just hear, oh well, I guess I could tell you that later, and they would just stop their story mid-sentence, and then you'd hop back in the boat, and they would just pick up from like that last like paragraph of the story in the text to continue telling that story. Those little bits and pieces just made the game feel a little bit more lifelike compared to other games I've played of like a similar style genre, or like an RPG or something that's had like a similar vibe to it. It definitely just was interesting and different in there's just those little things that made it interesting. I liked like when you first unlocked like their fast travel map system, and you go through onto like the tree branches, and you get this warning that's like, don't jump off, because if you fall off, there's no coming back. And there's this one spot where you can jump off. And of course, me just being, inquisitive in nature, just decided that I'd jump off and die. So I love that it was straightforward. It literally gave you a warning, and then I still did it and died. I did get the Platinum Trophy on this, so between Spider-Man and God of War, playing them over like 2 weeks, God of War did take me a little bit longer to get the Platinum Trophy for, but that was definitely something fun. The one thing fighting the Valkyrie Queen was ridiculously hard. But I did manage it in the end. I don't know if I really would encourage trying to fight the Valkyries for anyone that's really not into challenging combat for the fun of it. Like, it's not necessary to the story to fight them all and defeat the Queen. It's definitely optional, and it doesn't add a lot to the story or the character's story in terms of like overly outward based on the narrative, but it does add like backstory to the characters and the gods of the Norse branch, and leading into a sequel to this one, I guess that kind of adds to the whole image of Odin that you might see, or other gods that we haven't come across yet. And I think doing it for that sake is good, but if you can't stand the challenge, just look up online about a little bit of the history of the characters if that's what you're after. But I definitely had lots of fun. I felt like, I don't know, just something about playing this game, I felt like I was just this beast, like smashing those enemies. It was just fun. Quite a bit graphic when you're like, you know, cleaving characters in half, but something about having that axe was just awesome. That Leviathan axe, and using that and like throwing it and calling it back, kind of like Mjolnir in like watching Thor, like the Avengers, seeing that being thrown off and then coming back to Thor. It was just amazing, and you kind of got that like exciting aspect with the Leviathan axe. And spoiler alert, if you haven't played it and you don't want any spoilers, turn this off now. Come back and watch this later. But getting the blades that that Kratos has halfway through the game was amazing. Like, just going, alright, we've had this Leviathan axe, we're swinging that around, now it's time to be the real Kratos. And you chain the blades to your hand, and you start spinning them around, and you have these awesome combos and fire bursting off them. It was so epic. And then there's this major spoiler at the end, which I'm not getting into, but it's about like their journey and finding out stuff to do with the mother, who's kind of not really explored a lot. Like, you don't get to find out a lot about the mother and like who she was and why Atreus is important and things going on with Atreus right up until the end. I loved it. And if you know a little bit about the naming conventions from Norse mythology, that definitely plays into it, about learning about this character. So keep an eye out for that. It's definitely interesting. I definitely do recommend this game though. Like, it is a great game. And who doesn't like a little bit of the bearded dad Kratos? Grumpy man Kratos. I don't know, I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend it to people that want an action game with a little bit of an like RPG kind of factor to it. It's definitely lots of fun. But yeah. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button and consider subscribing to see more content coming your way. I've definitely had lots of fun making these, and I hope to be continuing making them for quite a while, because I've got lots of games that I can talk about, and I would like to share about all of them on a daily basis. So I'm going to keep recording and talking about these. I'm going to keep trying to get them out on a daily basis. So have a great day, guys, and I'll catch you next time.